X amount of days to the shutdown. So the plan was to have that done prior. All the piping's actually going in place right now to line up to it. And then they'll
Hope it lines up.
hope it lines up. That's right. So
I've seen some of that in the past. It didn't, but
Isn't that nice?
make 45s.
oh yeah,
We're
just had
fixing
that
to have
people there.
technical difficulties.
all the piping.
Hope not. We should be okay.
The engineering group was all like Reagan tapped it up exactly how it was drawn up, but none of it lined up.
Before I get to kick you in the knee.
July 23rd.
Okay, I'll be there the 24th.
You need an ice
I'll
machine?
come see you on the 24th.
I ordered one.
Okay, I have
Did you
one.
purchase it? Yeah.
Well, I wonder how the mayor's life has
Yeah.
changed.
Can't say
Yeah.
you're ordering.
I think every one of us knows that.
Yeah, exactly.
Profoundly. Couple of minor little,
I sent him a text
Yeah,
and
you can just
congratulated
borrow
me.
my ice machine. There's
Mom and
no
baby
reason-
doing fine.
I love it.
I thought about saying, how's dad doing?
and I posted some nice pictures on Facebook. I really like the one he had of him holding the baby. It was a really nice picture. Yep.
And crutches.
Told him treasure those
anytime.
moments because in the blink of an eye, they're gone.
Oh yeah.
I
Hello.
only have a walker, so.
No, I know.
Hi.
That's what they said.
You're like a
I'm like,
medical
fast forward
dispensary.
20
Yeah, no
years.
kidding. Got a retirement gig.
Yes.
Yeah, just, I'm going to be in the council meeting in 2 minutes. So give me, call me in the morning. Right? Yes, I can do that. All right.
Greg, did you sign up to do a public hearing discussion? Okay. Perfect. Is that for the CIP? Yeah. Okay.
Right. Somebody's got to express themselves. About here.
Anybody else signing in for the public hearing? Perfect. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. It is 6 o'clock. We'll get started. I think as Andrew's asked anybody who wants to speak at the public hearings, there's 2 sheets, one for each one. One sheet?
Yep.
Okay, so remind everybody, please place your cell phones on silent. And Tony, can we have a roll call?
Councilman Bowman,
Here.
Councilman Edens, Councilman Farrell,
Here.
Councilman Klon,
Here.
Councilman Weller.
Here.
All right, and I would say the mayor sends his regrets, but him and his wife are welcoming a new baby home, so I don't think he's regretting anything right now. All right, we'll have a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I'll move.
Second.
Right. A motion and a second. Roll call, please, Tony.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the 28E agreement for the administration of a Union Library Catalog Consortium for the Clinton County Public. A hearing will be opened up at 6:01.
We received no correspondence at City Hall, Your Honor.
No correspondence to City Hall, and nobody has signed up to speak at the public hearing. All right, we're going to go ahead and close that hearing again at 6:01. Next item is a public hearing to amend the capital improvement plan. We'll open that up at 6:02. We have one individual signed up, Greg Maxwell, 2127 10th Street.
Very good. Yeah, regarding the capital improvement plan, it's good that we have a plan. You know, it's a guideline to follow. Obviously, that's a good thing to have. It's going to change over time. That's, you know, it's noted there. So but certainly having a guideline, at least something to at least point you in a direction is a good thing. I look through the list of projects. I mean, there's certainly a number of things that are must-dos. We got to fix our streets, that type of thing. Fire equipment, we need to keep those up to a reasonable standard of some sort. So certainly, everyone knows there's just certain things that just must be done over a certain period of time. I also look at the list and I see some things that are, probably nice to have if money's no object. So, and again, as time goes on, we add to our commercial tax base, we'll find ourselves flush with cash. Sure, why not? Get some nice things in there. But, if we can't add to our commercial, I guess I'm just here to say we can't keep whipping our residential taxpayers for more revenue. I mean, the past few years, we've talked about this before. I think, assessments have gone up, levy rates have gone up. So you take a bigger number times a bigger number. Well, obviously the result is a bigger number coming out of the pockets of residents. That's just something we got to keep in mind. I feel like, that assessments and levy rates both increase. And it's a double whammy. At the same time, we've had water fees go up, some of which was by necessity. There's things that have to be done there too. Other fees, I think, have increased over time. So, I mean, these all take a toll, and we have an aging community. I feel like, some of those people they're gonna struggle as all these costs keep going up. It's just something we got to really stay on top of, in my opinion. So, I guess with that being said, and again, I know the capital stuff, as some of the debts come off, we're going to talk about diverting some of that to other debt. Some of that might make sense, but again, I think we really got to stay on top of that levy rate. I just think the point right now is it's too high where it is, and we need to work on that. And we got to be careful to not let this kind of get away on us. I mean, I think if you went around town and asked everyone what their number one request would be, it'd be tax relief, property tax relief, more than other projects or anything like that. So, and we just had a former council member in here not too long ago that really hit on that exactly. He's retired, he has fixed income, and it's hurting him. So, again, we got to be careful what that trajectory is. Keep that trajectory headed, fees up, taxes up. There's a point where people are going to be hurting here in town. I don't think we want that. I don't think any of us want that. So, I guess I'm just here to remind everyone and ask that you please keep it in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and still, we have nobody else, okay. Anybody online want to speak at the public hearing? on
We
the
have one
capital improvement?
individual online, other than the newspaper. If you're wishing to speak at the public hearing about the capital improvement plan, now would be the opportunity to do it. I see no action, Your Honor.
All right, next up on the
You got to
agenda
close
is,
the public hearing, sir.
oh, sorry, thank you for reminding me about that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll close this public hearing at 6:05. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
Next up is public comments on agenda topics. Do we have any public comments on agenda topics? Anybody online wish to speak regarding agenda topics?
Anyone online wishing to speak about agenda topics? Unmute yourself and raise your hand. No action, Your Honor.
Okay, next we'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Councilman Weller.
I'll second.
A second, any discussion on individual items? Tony, roll call, please.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman.
Yes. All right, we'll go to unfinished business. First item under unfinished business is second reading by title only of an ordinance amending chapter 18.20.020 AG-1 agricultural rural commercial water tower. An ordinance amending zoning ordinance chapter 18.20.020 AG-1 agricultural rural permitted uses of the Comanche, Iowa Code of Ordinances. I'll need a motion to approve that reading.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman.
Yes. Next on the agenda is waive the third reading of an ordinance amending chapter 18 18.20.020 AG-1 agricultural rural E commercial water tower.
I'll make the motion. We waive the third reading.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Klon.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next item is to adopt an ordinance amending chapter 18.20.020 AG-1 agricultural rural E commercial water tower.
I'll make a motion. We adopt that.
I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Weller.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next up on the agenda, Library Director will speak about library statistics and report.
Hello, Your Honor and Councilman. Thank you for your time tonight. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about 3 months worth of statistics, but I have their fiscal year statistics for you. So our total patrons in the last 3 months, February 2056, March 2090, and April 2108. So we are steadily climbing. You should see in the next, within this month, patron drive as we enter into our summer reading program, which, as I've told you all before, is meant for whole families this summer. So come on down and enjoy the fun. So all told, 132 new patrons since the start of 2025, or the fiscal year 2025. All right, so circulation statistics, you see there in February, 1,131. This is how many physical items have been checked out from the Comanche Public Library in the month of February. March, 1,263, and April, 1,235. Probably see that go up as the summer reading program gets underway too. And in February, our adult programs, I've listed them there and what dates they were held on, and then the numbers of attendees for each of them. 83 total attendees to our adult programming in February. In March, we had 99 total attendees, and in April, we had 88 total adult attendees in our programming, and you see all of those things that we're offering. Our children and teen attendance, you see our programs there for February totaled 118, March 121, and April 207. Next up is pictures of.
That's what happens when you invite the Easter Bunny.
I know, right? The Easter Bunny, he's so cute. Here are some photos of some of those different programs. This is the adult version of what it looks like at the library when we're all packed in doing our fun things. And the children's programs, there's toddler time on the far right, and we had homeschool club things happening in there, and after school club, all fun things. And then our total library visitors in February 2025 total, March 1,120, and April 1,183. 1 therapy dog, 1 squirrel, and 1 Easter bunny. Look at that squirrel. He was looking at the book I was reading. It was hysterical. Do you have any questions for me tonight?
No, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Next item on under unfinished business, capital improvement plan discussion. I'll turn that over to Andrew.
Sure. Let me get to there. So I think I've inserted everything in here that we all talked about, got it on that timeline. And, that timeline is always fluid, just depends on what's going on. Sometimes you may delay things because you're waiting for a different grant opportunity. Sometimes you may move something up because there's another grant opportunity available.
Right.
But it's at least gives us a framework of what to work towards every year. So we're not trying to come up with new ideas every year. That's the whole purpose of a capital improvement plan. So we have some direction to go, and it's not driven by some new people coming in saying, I've got this great new idea and that's what we're gonna work on, the heck with this. And you could do that, but now you have to change the capital improvement plan and get everybody else on board. That's the whole point behind a capital improvement plan. And this was born out of our work sessions, our fun pasting stuff on the wall and built off of that. And I appreciate everybody's work and effort on that. Does anybody have any input on this plan as presented? I think the timeline may change a little bit. It's because it's just part of how that goes. Your timeline may change based on how you're going to impact the levy. That's really what may put you back a year or two in that timeline.
Yeah, I don't have any specific questions about this. Anybody else?
No, I think
It's just hard because we don't have costs, so it's kind of hard to like where we're at with it. I mean, we kind of have some, but obviously
Yeah,
those are going to
some,
change,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, you have, you
I can
have
see that being,
ballparks.
yes. Yeah.
It's funny, the Washington Boulevard one, I asked Dan Solstenberger for an estimate on that, and because they know what happened over there when they did Washington Boulevard in the first place, so they know what they're facing. And his estimate was $970,000, and I'm like, I'm getting pretty good at it because I guessed $1 million. That was pretty close. So, I mean, it's the best you can do. You guess at it, and then you get an estimate on what you think the project's going to be, and then you figure out whether or not you're able to do the project.
Right. And as you pointed out, a lot of these, like the trail plan, there's grants.
Yeah.
That'll fund a lot of that.
Yep, and that's actively changing. That next year, I want you to be prepared to potentially move that project up because there's a lot of what's called TIP funding that next year will be the last year to utilize it.
Okay.
And there aren't a whole lot of communities that have the ability to get that plan moving because you have to have a match. There's a certain, I think it's an 80-20 match. So, you know, and ECIA, or the RPA has a lot of funding that they're still holding on to because they don't have anybody putting in for those plans. So that could be a significant improvement to the community with, you know, some input, some financial input from us locally, but you could get a lot more of that RPA funding because other cities aren't putting in for it.
Good.
So just be prepared for that.
Okay. Anybody else, anything to bring up regarding capital improvement? All right. Next item up.
There's some other corrections I need to make to this. At the next meeting, we'll be adopting it and then moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, approve amendment to the city administrator's contract. It's been sent out an email. Did everybody have a chance to look at that electronically when it was sent out? No. Okay, that's not it up on the screen there yet.
Oh, I don't have that in here. I can, let me find it.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions on the changes which were sent out. But, I turn it over to anybody else who may have correct questions.
we have
what was
one on
sent.
529 that you said.
Yeah, I do.
I can't access my
Councilman
email
Farrell?
on this computer.
I'm sorry, Councilman Klein, go ahead.
Email what I got. That's all
Right.
There's no end date.
There is. It's in, it's in the section of the termination clause. Yeah, here it is.
There you go.
Are you just talking about the severance provisions?
I'm just talking, it's an open contract right now. It starts on January or July 1, 2025, and there's no end date.
Now, this is not the right correction here, but it says it right here under the termination, but this isn't the right one. You should have the copy that says 2026, right?
I don't think that's the question he's asking, though. I mean, it's basically an at-will
Once
agreement.
this contract terminates, then I'm an at-will employee based on the ordinance.
I mean, you can be terminated.
This contract terminates on June 30th, 2026, then I'm an at-will employee.
But it doesn't say that anywhere.
It says it right here. The severance pay provisions expire on June 30th, 2026.
The severance pay, yes.
Yeah. That's the only
Read the rest of that
change.
paragraph. Following expiration, no severance pay will be due on termination of this contract by the council. So basically after June 30th, I'm sorry, of 26, he would be an at-will employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
There would be no contract.
There is one item that needs to be explained. This contract overlays the administrator ordinance. And the administrator ordinance provides for a 3-month severance. So that provision in the city ordinance 2.2-17-3 basically provides for a 3-month of severance. So that's the floor that is established under the city code.
It's separate from this contract.
That is separate, but that's there. That doesn't go away as of July of 2026.
So
The
regardless-
contract is above and the termination provisions are above and beyond that. Andrew has negotiated an additional amount of severance, potential severance benefits through June 30 of 2026.
Right.
As of July 1 of 2026, then it reverts back to the termination provisions in the ordinance, which is 3 months.
Right, so that's the bottom line.
So
Okay.
that's the floor that's already there.
Section 10, you do it. It's indefinite. But it could be-
And Councilman Klein, in section 10 of the proposed agreement under term, and it's basically an indefinite agreement since he's basically an at-will employee.
So all the other provisions would prevail, like vehicle allowance and.
They can fire you anytime they want.
Yeah.
It's just how much does it cost?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Unless it's
Yeah.
for cause. If it's for cause, then
Yeah.
the termination provisions don't apply.
Okay, thank you.
But it continues on unless the council makes the decision to terminate. You're right. The contract does not have a date when it will terminate. It's an indefinite period, but the council can terminate whenever they choose. It's just how much they have to pay
Or amend again.
or amend again.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Do we have any other questions on this? Can I have a motion to approve this amendment to the contract? Motion. All right, Councilman Weller make the motion,
I'll say.
and a second is over here. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to new business. First.
I'll get you.
Well, I can be loud. First item under new business is approve a 28E agreement between the Comanche Public Library and the Clinton County Public Library Association.
Gail, do you want to talk about that? She's like, oh, you called on me.
Sure. 28E agreement would be between the Comanche Public Library and the Association of Clinton County Public Libraries. And it is to allow us to jump on the, it's basically the cataloging system so that all of us can provide for all of the citizens of the county which books or materials we have in our libraries, and everyone can see what's in other libraries in the county and request that we provide those to our patrons and vice versa. And that would be the agreement that is at hand.
Yeah, so
Any
if-
questions?
If I can interject for the rest of the council, what I learned at the library board meeting where this was discussed, is by Iowa code, every municipality has to provide library services. Well, some of them don't have a library. So they do that by paying into this consortium. And what's good for the library, for our library, is by joining this agreement, we actually save money for our library. There's some stuff-
Currently, right, there's a subscription that we pay for now that houses on our computer systems what we provide to the citizens, and then we wouldn't have to pay for that system anymore because the consortium would be paying for this system.
Right.
So it's a good chunk of change.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the library director about this?
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, we have a motion to approve this agreement.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Klon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, you're very welcome. All right, the next item on the agenda is to approve the bid from Manats resurfacing 11th place for the amount of $75,292.50.
Your Honor, this was the only bid we received. And this will take care of all the rest of 11th place. We did in front of the school a couple of years ago and created some extra shoulder parking because there's a lot of street parking that happens over there. They're parking in grass or in gravel, so we paved some of that area. 11th place is in very rough shape all the way through. We'll end up resurfacing all the rest of it. And that's the bid, and we recommend council approve that bid.
All right, anybody have any questions on it?
The bid is to get that work done this summer while school is out.
Excellent.
That's why we're pushing this one through. The other work that needs to be done, which will be 14th Avenue and 3rd Street from the tracks to Washington Boulevard. And I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. But there's 3 other streets that we know. We'll do that bidding in January so that gets done in the springtime of next year. So it'll still be done this fiscal year.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this bid?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Klon.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda under new business, EMS services on the south side of the CP Casey Railroad tracks. That was done at my request. I don't know if we need to go any further into this. Chief Schutte, I addressed this at the last meeting as to why it's not feasible for us to have services on the other side of the tracks. So this was brought up by one of the residents in the public comment section of one of our meetings. And I wanted to explore it further, but like I said, Chief Schutte answered the question, which is, we just don't have anybody who lives on that side of the tracks who's qualified to be operating our equipment, so.
Well, we have one.
Actually, there's 2. I
There's
looked at the
two.
roster.
Cool.
There's actually 2 people.
But we can't count on those people being, oh, yeah, come on up here, please.
Yeah, there's numerous issues. Like I said, there's 2 people that live on that side of the tracks, but they're not there during the day. One of them's at the fire station working and one of them's at his job out of town.
Right.
So during the day, that's tough.
We can't count on it.
But then also the fact of we tried locating an ambulance and there's a fire truck down there now, but the ambulance was down there for several years. And it's just more cumbersome to the process. It's less effective because a lot of times we need the ambulance on this side of the tracks because the majority of the community is on this side and it's down there and it could be stuck down there. So it poses the problem either way.
Right.
And I know when we talked about the railroad merger, we talked about, adding another ambulance and adding more staffing, and that it's just not financially feasible to do that.
Count with our budget, right?
So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay.
But
No,
you can put an ambulance down there and make people feel warm and fuzzy, but if there's no one there in the time of need, that's not really addressing the problem. It's just basically, putting an appearance that you have that and we don't.
I understand.
It's still a matter of getting it to the other side of the tracks then too.
Right.
There is.
Yeah.
There
If
is.
you got someplace with somebody, that's
Yeah.
one thing. Another thing is to get out of there.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, you could get trapped with the patient in the ambulance, for a amount of time that it takes you to get back to the hospital. You could be trapped down there for a little while.
That whole project happened before I got here, but as I recall too, I don't remember there ever being a discussion about any kind of full-time staffing being down there or anything like that.
I think it was
The-
kicked around, but it never got
Yeah,
very
but
far
the
because
building was never designed to
No.
accommodate that either. And there's not even a bathroom on that side. So there was, I don't think there was ever an intent really to have full-time staffing over there.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you,
I have
Chief.
the same concerns as the citizens. I voiced that during, that whole process.
get
and
it.
things
I
like
totally
that.
get it.
Something, someday, something bad's gonna happen and, you try to be proactive to
Mhm.
prohibit that or prevent that, but
Mhm.
I don't know what you do with that's, within the financial constraints that we have.
And well, just personnel too. You can't force people to
Right.
live and stay on the other side of the tracks.
Correct.
So, all right, I get it.
I'd like to just make some comments on going in another direction.
Go ahead.
And I might be crazy, but I've been called crazy before. I think if we can make a case to the railroad and have a honest discussion with the railroad, I'm not so sure they can't help us. On the fact that they know, if they honestly know we have a problem and our concerns, if they have to stop a train, can they leave one end of the town open?
Mhm.
Whether that's Swan Drive or Third Street, I don't know. At least one crossing to get across if they have to stop a train. And I think we need to have a honest discussion with the railroad about this problem. But we also, and maybe the railroad can help us here too, how often does this happen? And we can say that happened last Tuesday.
Mhm.
It happened 3 Tuesdays ago. But we need an honest, and maybe the railroad can tell us when it happens too.
That's good.
They should have a record of when their trains stop and when they move, where they're going to. And let's get that information, have an honest discussion with the railroad and see if they are even willing to try and help us with this.
So, Councilman, I can say that during that negotiation, we did have a very good discussion. So myself, the mayor, and did Chief Schutte leave? Oh, there, you're right there. I was looking over there for you. Were you in on that discussion too? Yeah, and we talked about those things, and it was a very, very good discussion. In the end, they understand the situation, and there's nothing they're going to do.
Well, and I don't know that there's nothing they can do. I think they've made efforts to do exactly that, just like we've dealt with on the other end of town. When they do have to stop trains, they're supposed to stop short of 4th Avenue or whatever. But the concern becomes if you have an accident, like we had a derailment, a few years ago. So if that train's traveling the other way, all those crossings are blocked. But I think the bigger concern is not the trains being stopped, because I think those are things that they can plan. It's the trains that are so long now that are moving through town that are blocking the crossing. They're moving, but they're still blocking all the crossings from anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes because they're moving slow.
They're moving
Some of them.
slow, and they're moving slow because if they stop, there's an issue. As long as they don't stop, they don't have the issue of how long they can stop. And a lot of that issue too for that line involves the crossing with UP, where they intersect at 8 a.m. And if they could ever get that bridge built to go over those tracks, it would eliminate a lot of our problems here. They have a point where the CP and UP line intersect. And if the UP line is blocking that because the swing bridge is open, then the CP can't get through, but they don't know it until it's too late, because what we talked about at that meeting was that the two railroads don't play in each other's sandbox very well. So they don't communicate. UP never communicates with CP when they've got that crossing blocked. And CP just comes up across it, but it's too late for them to stop short of 4th Avenue. So it's a communication issue. And we talked with Congresswoman Miller Meeks's office at the time. We talked with Senator Grassley's office. We expressed those concerns, and we talked at the state level with our state representation, and we didn't get very much response back on that. We didn't get very much support at all.
the last time when the negotiations were going on, we did reach out to the Canadian Pacific about the state statute regarding overpasses, and basically we're told this is a federal issue. We don't intend to abide by. We don't feel we're regulated by any state statute. We disagreed with that, but you know, they feel that anything that impacts their usage of their tracks potentially makes it a federal issue. And so that, you know, that would, the only time they were ever reached out to was concerning an auto overpass, whether or not they might do something if you ever decided to potentially do a pedestrian type overpass that you could run a four-wheeler over or something. I don't know that they've ever been approached about that. And I don't know what the cost of something like that might be, but that's more of a middle ground that you've got the equipment now that you could get somebody from one side of the tracks to the other, get them back on that four-wheeler or side by side or whatever, get them back on this side of the track. You're not going to fight a fire, but you could evacuate somebody.
That was one of the requests that we made in our first presentation to them, and they had zero interest in that.
Yeah. And they have even less interest in the, you know, doing an automobile overpass. Even though it isn't going to impact their tracks at all. It would be built over their tracks with the supports being on city right of way on either side. And there's federal case law that kind of contradicts their position, but they're the great big person in the room. And as Andrew said, we're in a unique situation where you're in an intersection of two major rail carriers plus a swing bridge. So I don't know that there's any place else on their line that's got, you know, the issues that you're having to deal with here in Comanche.
Part of the problem, like say with that swing, but the barge traffic's got priority over the railroad, so they get caught sitting there. They can't do nothing about it.
I don't think it would hurt to try to put together a meeting and at least talk to them and continue to voice the concerns and see what options are out there, because there are some things that you could do to help facilitate a faster response, you know, whether it's communicating that they either need to get the train moving or stop the train and break it so we can get through or whatever. I mean, the most communication in emergency situations that we have with the railroads, typically, if we have an accident or some kind of incident going on within the railroad right away, you know, we contact them and stop the trains. But they're far and few between, and they're very, you know, very particular about that. You know, are you on the tracks? Are you near the tracks? You know, so it used to be, it didn't matter. You just call them, and if you said the train traffic need to be shut down, they do it. Now it's very specific to, you have to be within close proximity of that. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to have that conversation and at least say, these are the concerns. You know, we have citizens that are concerned, and we want to know, you know, what's the best outcome that we can get out of this.
Okay, I like that.
Happy to, we've got some new contacts over there, so.
Okay.
And it's just, yeah, I would get the state and the federal elected officials involved too. And I'll be crazy enough to say even maybe a letter needs to be written to the transportation department. Because we have life and death situation here.
Yeah. And we did write, I mean, I wrote a letter to the Surface Transportation Board during the merger. And then a lot of people did, you know, expressing those exact concerns. And
I went down to that meeting they had in Davenport and spoke. The mayor and I went down there. I just expressed our concerns about what was going on and the situation. And we do have a unique situation here. And I can tell you that was in 2019, was it post-COVID?
oh, that was after COVID.
Oh,
21.
well, they had no interest in, I mean, they sit and listened, but that was about it. They still voted the way they're going to vote.
Right.
And I think we all knew the writing was on the wall. They were going to approve that merger.
I'm not even talking about, you know, the Federal Transportation Administration, okay?
But,
FRA.
That's who we dealt with, Surface
Yeah.
Transportation Board.
Yes.
That's different than the Federal Transportation Board. Okay?
Railway Administration.
And there's a, like it or not, I'm not gonna get political, but there's a whole new administration in there now than there was the last time we tried this, and it could be some help.
Certainly doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to try, right. So you have directions and.
Sure. I'll reach out and see where we can go.
Thank you for bringing that up. Good job. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion on that? All right, next item. We have the first reading of an ordinance amending 3-1-5, paragraph 6A of the Comanche Code of Ordinances, fireworks.
So I asked the attorneys to write this up, and Braden was the victim, apparently. So Braden, do you want to go explain what's going on there?
Don't say victim and fireworks in the same sentence.
I tried to lay it out in the facts found pretty well, but the state legislator made the change saying that city councils can no longer regulate when fireworks are used on July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st. So there is a state code section also that lays out when you can do that. I think there were two approaches we could take to make our local ordinance be in line with the state code. One of them is just to cite to that state code section. The approach I took was to specifically lay out in our ordinance exactly when on those days citizens can use the fireworks. I think it's easier for them to look at that and see it in the ordinance as opposed to trying to interpret state law separately. So that's the approach I took. We really don't have any latitude with changing this here. It's just incorporating what the state legislator made. So,
Okay.
any
Thank you.
questions for me?
I don't have any.
Yeah, I have questions.
Sure.
Is it anything in the new Iowa law that says anything about fire restrictions, no burning?
No, it was just related to fireworks. So there wasn't anything about burning. It was a very minor
So
change. To
if by chance there's a no burning during that period of time, can't have any fires, but you can light on fireworks.
I thought there was a provision that said if the fire marshal declared a fire, whatever the proper term is.
The burn ban?
Burn
Yeah.
something, that could override the fireworks, but I don't have that specifically in front of me. But I do believe there was a provision, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I understand, if I understand your question correctly. I
It was in
think,
the old one, I don't know, I haven't read through the new legislation, but it was in there before.
I guess the only change was basically adding on that the city council can may by ordinance or resolution prohibit or limit the use of consumer fireworks, display fireworks, or novelties as described on any day other than July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st in accordance with the code section.
Well, I mean, this is the first reading, so in between, we can certainly look into whether a burn ban affects this.
Yeah.
Because it
And
certainly,
then add that language,
and add that language.
cite the code if it's in the code.
Okay. All right, let me go through the reading and then we can discuss. An ordinance amending the Comanche, Iowa Municipal Code of Ordinances, Section 3-1-5, Paragraph 6A. Section 1, purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to align the City of Comanche's consumer fireworks ordinance with recent changes to state law regarding the use of consumer fireworks. Section 2, facts found. The City Council of the City of Comanche, Iowa hereby makes the following findings of fact. Section 3-1-5, Paragraph 6A of the Comanche Code of Ordinances only allows use of consumer fireworks on July 4th between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. On May 19th, 2025, Governor Kim Reynolds signed into law Senate File 303, an act relating to county and city regulation of fireworks. Senate File 303 amended Iowa Code Section 364.2, Paragraph 6 to state city councils can only regulate the use of consumer fireworks on days other than July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st in accordance with Iowa Code Section 727.2, Paragraph 4. Iowa Code Section 727.2, Paragraph 4 allows the use of consumer fireworks on January 1st between 12 a.m. and 12:30 a.m., on July 3rd between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m., or between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. if July 3rd falls on a Saturday or Sunday, on July 4th between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m., and on December 31st between 9 a.m. and 12 a.m. Section 3-1-5, Paragraph 6A of the Comanche Code of Ordinances should be amended to reflect when consumer fireworks may now be used in accordance with Iowa law. Section 3, Amendment. Section 3-1-5, paragraph 6A of the Comanche Code of Ordinances hereby repealed in its entirety and replaced with the following. No person, firm, or corporation shall discharge or fire any cannon, gun, bomb, pistol, air gun, or other firearms, except for lawful hunting permitted by state law, subject to the provisions of Iowa Code 481A.123, fireworks, or any other device containing explosives. Consumer fireworks deemed legal under Code of Iowa 727.2 are allowed on January 1st between 12 a.m. and 12:30 a.m., on July 3rd between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m., or between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. if July 3rd falls on a Saturday or Sunday, on July 4th between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m., and on December 31st between 9 a.m. and 12 a.m. The fine for violation of this ordinance shall be no less than $250. Section 4, Repealer. All ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict with any provisions of this ordinance is hereby repealed. Section 5, Severability Clause. If any section, provision, or part of this ordinance is adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, such adjudication shall not affect the validity of the ordinance as a whole or any section, provision, or part not judged invalid or unconstitutional. And Section 6, when effective, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect after its final passage, approval, and publication as required by law. All right, the only thing I would like to add to this is I don't think it's okay for people to be shooting fireworks off on the public right of way, in the streets, sidewalks, et cetera. Streets are for cars, sidewalks are for people with strollers and walking. People can set up fireworks on their private property all they want, but I don't think we should be allowing it on the right of way. It just isn't a good use of the public streets.
That is prohibited under the statute.
Oh, under the Iowa Code?
Yeah, there's a provision that says a person shall not use consumer fireworks on real property other than that person's real property or on the real property of a person who has consented to the use of consumer fireworks on that property. So the city's not going to consent to the use of any private individual unless you come and get a permit for it.
So can we just add that language to this for the next reading? So like Braden said, people are looking here and not saying, what doesn't say that in your ordinance?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
again, it's already, it's just a duplication of the existing statute.
Okay.
But yeah, yes, you can certainly do that.
All right.
Yeah.
It could be a friendly amendment.
Because we're already talking about doing another change anyway, so. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve this reading as amended.
I'll make the motion.
All right, you were first. Second, okay. So, any other discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Klon,
Yes.
Councilman Weller,
Yes.
Councilman Farrell.
Yes.
All right, that concludes the business portion of the meeting. Do we have any communications from the city attorney?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, is there a problem?
No, they're looking up the stuff.
The
Okay.
burn ban stuff.
All right, Andrew, do you have anything?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Wine register like
Here's not
20
here.
years ago.
City council members, Councilman Klein,
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilman Farrell.
Nothing, Your Honor.
The only thing I've got is if you haven't seen them, we should be sending out Gail might have these, but we have these cool pictures of the architect was kind enough to make these nice renderings of what the library would really look like.
Could look
After-
like. Could.
look
I think it's the point. That's not the final thing.
That's
It
not
could
the-
look like
Could
that.
look like, that's
Yeah.
right. So we're gonna get those out and we're adding to the presentation and we'll get those in the library, so.
And I think one of the things we've discussed adding to that presentation is what the implication is to the taxes. So it's $1.67 on the levy right now for the Washington Boulevard project for the average house, or if your house is $100,000 of assessed value, I think the total amount roughly is $77. That's what if we let that debt roll off, it would decrease someone's property taxes up for a $100,000 house about $77
a year.
So if you get up to a $200,000 value house, assessed value house, it would be about $140 per year. So it would be continuing those monies to the city, not increasing them at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Waller?
I have nothing.
Okay. Sergeant?
Nothing for us here.
Okay, Chief?
Nothing, Your
All
Honor.
right, Gail?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Tony?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, and Public Works isn't here. All right, do we have any public comments?
Your Honor, we have someone online who has raised his hand. He raised it in the middle of the meeting, but now would be the time for that person to be able to speak. Mr. Paul,
Yeah, go ahead.
you are unmuted, Mr. Paul. If you have something to acknowledge and say, the floor is yours, sir.
I need your,
Thank you, sir.
all right. Okay, do we have any council member requests for matters for future agendas?
Nothing.
Okay,
Nothing.
and at 6:48, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
I guess my preliminary thought is if it's in the state ordinance already,
They wanted
it's
to.
there, then they can put it in there, but if not, whatever.